Okay, I'm making a video for a friend on how to make handmade roses that look almost real. And you're making them out of anything. Play-Doh, softened wax. If you take sugar and butter and mix it together and make a thick frosting, it's got to be nice and, soft enough to play with like Play-Doh. You can put it on birthday cakes and wedding cakes. You can use flour and water, as I said. Anything. Anything that you can mold. Clay, anything. And what you do is, in this case, I've got flour and water with just a couple drops of oil in it. It makes it so that it doesn't stick to your hands. See, we don't have the sticky hands syndrome. So, what you want to do for the petals of the rose, you don't need very much. You just need to pinch a small little bit off. Roll it in your finger like a ball, and it depends how big you want the rose. Take and put it in the palm of your hand like this and smash it with your thumb or your finger until it gets really, really flat. You want this palm print. That's what's going to make the petal look real. And then you're going to peel it off. Now, see, this one's kind of thick. I don't like how thick it is. If you look, it may not look that thick to you, but it does to me, and it should look like a thin little petal. So you're going to want to smash it some more till it gets thin enough, till you can almost see through it. There you go. Now, if I had the light back here, let me turn my light on 1 second. Okay, there, the light's on. And you see how thin that is? Just paper thin. And if you hold it up to the light, you can see through it. This light to work. There we go. See, if you hold it up to the light, you can see through it. I don't know if you can see that or not, but you can see through it. Okay, now you just take this first one and you roll it around onto itself like you're rolling a newspaper. See what I'm doing here? Just gently rolling that around onto itself like I'm rolling a little itty-bitty newspaper. There you go. And you're going to end up with something like this. See the center of the rose now? Right. Now I need a bowl of water. Let me pause this. I'll be right back. Okay, I got my bowl of water. The bowl of water will be so that you can dampen your finger just a little bit. Touch the edge of that. And then press it down so it'll stick. Now you see how long that is. You don't want it quite that long. You don't need to nip off much. Just nip off the very tiny bottom of it. And there you go. That's the center of your rose. You lay that down. Then you pick up another piece of dough, about the same size. You see just a little ball. And you got another little ball. Make sure your fingers are good and dry. It's always, if you're using flour, leave some flour down in a bowl where you can put your finger into the flour so that you can make it so that, like if you're making pie dough, so it don't stick to you. So you flatten this one out, get it good and flat. Flatten it out good and flat, just like this. And yes, I have done this for cake, wedding cake once. People loved it. And then you take this one, you pick it up. With the flour, you want to dampen the small bottom part down here, because you want that to stick. And you center your centerpiece into it, and then you wrap it around, just like so. See how that wrapped around? See? Can you start to see it already, can't you? Then you can just fold that down just a little bit. You see how I folded that edge down? And you can do the same with the other piece too, but it's harder. Now you take your next piece, your next small ball of dough, and it depends on how big you make these little balls on how big your rose is going to be, how big your petals are going to be. Take your next little ball of dough, and you flatten that now, just like so, once again. And as I said, when you're working with actual dough, you are going to want the water. Play-Doh, you don't need to do that because it sticks together real easy. But with dough, you're going to want the water. Wet the bottom of your petal, just like so. Oop, 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 oop. I'm dropping things here. Okay, now you see what side this is on. You're going to overlap it just a little bit to the side there. Just like so. You see how I'm overlapping that? And bring it around. And there's your next petal. Now the next petal you do, you can see this real good. There's kind of an open spot over here. That's where you're going to lay your next petal. One thing I did find while doing this is if you have a toothpick, which I don't have right now, wrap it around a toothpick. It makes it easier. But I don't have a toothpick right now. So then I'm going to make my next petal. Now, I'm not going to make a real big one right now. I'm just going to make enough of one so that you can get the idea of what you want to do. How you're going to do it. Now, I'm going to tell you people right straight up. They have items that are ceramic made that people do this with. And them things go for good money. So, that's just to let you know. Handcrafted items are often much more treasured by a lot of people than what factory made is, because there's a lot more care and love and thought put into a handcrafted item. There's your next petal. And you're going to want to wet the bottom. Now, if it curled around your thumb while you made it, wet the side that was facing outside from the curl. Because that curl, if you can see, makes a natural curl. That means you don't have to curl it down so much. See? There's the beginning of your rose. Now, I'll put on one more petal and then I'll show you how to make the leaf. There's one more petal. last petal. Maybe two. I don't know. We'll see. And this can be a very, very calming activity to do. It keeps your mind going on what you're doing, not what is going on in the world. Okay? It will relax you. Keeps you thinking about what color you want the rose to be, how you're going to paint it. You can even do it, put food coloring into your dough that you make to make it have color to it. However you want to do it. Oh, yeah, I'm going to want one more petal on this side over here. Because to me, it just looks like it had a petal fall off the way it looks right now. So let's get this off my finger. There we go. Last little petal. And besides that, I always work like to work with 1s, 3s, and 7s. There's a reason for that. I don't like 6. Okay. You know, people with OCD, we've got our strange ways of doing things. And number 6 is just one of those strange things I don't like. Okay, now it's all flattened down. And last petal will go on. Flatten the bottom of that. And it'll be put into the right place. And there you go. That makes it look a lot better. Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, I'm going to open up this side over here. That one's just sticking in there too much. There we go. There you go. How's that for a rose? What do you think? Now imagine if I would have put red food coloring in this. Now, you can take the bottom. If you're going to make it so it sits on something flat, nip off your bottom. Take a pair of scissors. Just clip it so it comes out flat. Now you got a flat bottom. And that'll make it so it sits down properly. See? Now it'll sit on a flat surface properly. Find a flat surface that's good enough to use here. See how nicely that sits right on top of there? I'm using the lid to the cat treats, so now the cats are coming thinking they're going to get treats. Oh no, I messed up. Okay, now you're going to want to make your leaf. You're going to take your... Now the person who does this that I'm showing this to, she already knows how to make the leaves. She's real good at that. But I'm going to show you a little trick I do with mine. You see this line right here? Or even this line right here? That's where you're going to want to put the center of your leaf. And you're going to want your hand a little bit curved so that line gets divoted in there real good. And you just flatten it out just the same way you do the petal. The only difference is is when you're done, what you're going to do is you're going to peel it up off your hand. You're going to have, you can't see it, but there's a little line right in the middle. You're going to want to take your scissors, find that little line, and you're going to want to cut your points. Just like so. There you go. Round out the edge and cut your point. Do it to the other side as well. My hand's shaking today. So I don't know how good this is going to turn out. There's your point. So you end up with something kind of like this. Then you're going to take the edges and you're just going to gently snip. And snip. And snip. You're going to do the same thing to this side. Snip. Snip. Ooh. Snip. And one down on the bottom over here. And one down on the bottom over here. It's not all that easy to do, but you can do it. Especially when your hands decide to shake today. Okay. Now what you end up with is something that looks like that. There's your leaf. And depending how much of a little spike you want on your leaf here, how many spikes you want, depends on how many times you snip it. I'll show you what it looks like with more snips in it. There you go. There's more snips. You see how that looks? Now imagine that as green. You see how it already automatically rolls over a little bit? Now you're going to want to put a little dot of water on the bottom of that. Pick up your rose. Lay it down on top of that. Start your second one. Second leaf. Do the same thing all over again. Get it right on that little crease thing on your hand. Let me see if there's a way I can make it look where you can see the crease better. Dunk this in a little extra flour. I'm hoping that it'll make it so you can see the crease better. Did it? Ooh, yeah, a little bit better. I'm not sure if you can see it or not. Let me see. Shade it a little bit. Okay, there you go. See that right there? There's that little crease. That comes from that spot in your hand. That gives a natural crease, just like a real leaf has. And then you also get the pattern from your handprint that'll radiate out, just like a real leaf has. And you want to, just like you did before, snip your shape out, decide which direction you want to go in. Snip your shape out. It's almost like a upside down heart, but not quite. If my fingers would stop shaking, I wouldn't be having as much trouble with this. Okay. Then you want to snip down your edges, just like you did before. See what my thumb is doing? It's shaking. This is why I can't do this delicate work like this very much anymore. Because my hands just shake. And I just can't do it. You're going to want to put your water on the bottom of it, just like you did the other one. So it gets nice and sticky. Then you're going to want to put your rose on top of it, so it sticks down. Right now is when you want to curl the edges of your leaves the way you want them. So in the end, you end up, let me get this where you can see it, with something that looks like this. I'm going to cover the rose so that you can see the leaves too. You get your two leaves and then your rose on top. And with the dough, not very hot oven, like just very, in fact, is better off to just set it in the sun and let it dry. And it all depends how you want to roll the leaf part. And you can make your leaf longer or shorter or whatever you want to do. However you want to make it. It's your creative mind, not mine. I'm showing you my creative mind. And you've got a pretty little flower. Now, can you imagine this flower? I don't have food coloring. If you would have did food coloring of purple or red. Now, another little hint is if you do have food coloring, color your dough, the red or the purple, and then when you come back through, take a toothpick or something that you can get some of the dye on, and just touch it along the edges here, and it'll make it darker along the edges of your petal. And you do that before you put the petal on. That way the edges of your petals will be darker, and then you put the petals on and you'll have a darker part here than what the rest of the petal is. And then you do the same thing with the leaf. You put your food coloring on the leaf in the dough of green. Then you take a toothpick and you get your green dye on it, your green food coloring, and you just streak it down the center of it a couple times and along the sides so it makes darker veins. And then you'll have a darker color into your rose and your leaves. But that is how you hand sculpt a rose and some leaves. And there you go. You've got a rose and two little leaves. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you. Bye.